What is up, Formula One race fans? It is James from the Formula One Bros podcast. It has been a minute since we've uploaded any long-form content, either here on YouTube or Spotify. We've been posting a lot on Instagram Reels. We've been posting a lot on TikTok, especially now that we're getting into car launch season and winter testing is right around the corner and the first race is coming up pretty quickly. So I figured I'd just start back up and see how it goes. So we're back for a new season of Formula One. This is our first episode of the 2025 episode. It is just me today. It's just me posting today. And today's episode is going to talk about everything to do with the car launch that we saw, the F175 live event that was held at the O2 Arena in London. Before we get there, though, this season of Formula One is looking like it's going to be a pretty crazy one. It ended last season. We'll take a step back. Last season ended at the end of the season. It was a toss-up as to which team was going to be fastest any given weekend. At the start of the season, we saw Red Bull dominating everything, but then we start to see the likes of McLaren and the likes of Ferrari start to really creep up. It seemed like at the start that Ferrari was going to be the clear second-place team behind Red Bull. Red Bull did not win the constructors. They had pretty poor performance in the latter half of the season, and Ferrari and McLaren really stepped up in the latter half of the season, and McLaren actually won the constructors title at the end of the season, barely squeaking out Ferrari at the end. So this upcoming season, we have 6 new rookies on the grid. The last time we saw 6 of anything on the grid, 2012 famously had 6 world champions on the grid. This is the opposite. We have 6 rookies. Now, of those 6 rookies, Liam Lawson, technically he is a rookie because this is his first full season in F1. He has driven F1 cars before. He did finish the season at Visa Cash App Racing Bulls last year, but this is his first full season in F1, and he is at the seat of Red Bull. Up next, we have Kimi Antonelli at Mercedes. We have Jack Doohan. We have Ollie Behrman, Gabriel Bordatella, and Isaac Hadjar are our 6 rookies this year. It's going to be quite a lot of rookies. Can't remember the last time that we've had 6 rookies on the grid. It's going to make for a very interesting season, that is for sure. As in terms of who is going to be the best rookie, right now I think that Red Bull is, you can't count out Red Bull. Yes, they're losing Adrian Newey, but that's, I think, really going to affect them when we get to the 2026 season. So I think Red Bull will still be strong. I think Liam Lawson will, of the 6 rookies, I think Liam Lawson will probably finish the highest of the 6. The only other person that I could think that would finish higher is Kimi Antonelli and Mercedes. All the other ones are in the likes of Alpine or Williams or Haas, which did not do very well last year. But who knows? One of those rookies can surprise us. So that's what we're looking forward to coming up at this Formula One season. Let's dive right into the car launch. I'm going to talk about all the highlights of the event, talk about the highlights, lowlights, and I'm going to talk about all of the different liveries that we saw. So first, I'm going to talk about the lowlights of the event, which there weren't many. There weren't many lowlights. Personally, I felt like the event as a whole was really gimmicky. I tend to, when Formula One does something really showy like this, especially in the modern era, I tend to feel like it's just a little bit too gimmicky. That's just my personal opinion. I thought it was really gimmicky. But that's just my take. The other thing, I thought it looked like quite a few drivers didn't want to be there. It just felt like a lot of the drivers didn't want to be there. They weren't interested in the event. I think they kind of wish that they were just able to do their own, car launch with their own team on their own time, which, I can definitely understand. I think there's definitely something to be said about wanting to do your own thing with your own team. Makes it feel a little bit more special. I don't know. That's just my guess. But yeah, it looked like a couple of drivers didn't want to be there. And I think the most awkward driver interaction was Lance Stroll talking when he got up to talk about Aston Martin. The performer was, which Tim's was great. Loved the performance. She was still singing as the drivers were walking out, and it just felt really awkward. And then Lance Stroll just, I don't know, him talking just felt really awkward. So yeah, that's really all I have in terms of lowlights. Highlights of the event, I absolutely loved the person hosting. He is a magnificent comedian, hilarious. I absolutely love his stuff. He was the perfect host for that event. It was awesome. He was playfully roasting F1 drivers, F1 team principals, CEOs, things like that. He was playfully roasting them in I felt like a very classy way. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel offensive. It felt playful and it felt fun. And I especially loved the moment when, he was talking to Gordon Ramsay about the FIA and their decision to ban explicit language, or at least penalize explicit language. So I thought those were some pretty funny events. As a whole, I thought it was, yes, I thought it was gimmicky, but if you're going to do an event like that, I felt like they did it really well. It was a very well run event. I felt like the pacing was really good. I didn't feel like there were any, the pauses were too long. They didn't spend too long on one thing or another or anything like that. They revealed the car, had, introduce the team, had, the team principal, the drivers, whoever, say a few words, and then it was right on to the next one. I thought some of the team intros were really cool. I really liked, I think my favorite one, even though I did say it was a little bit awkward with the drivers coming out and Tim still performing, I really liked the 007 Aston Martin one. I just felt like all the team intros and everything, I thought it was really cool how they did it. So with that being said, let's talk about each of the liveries that we saw, and I'm going to grab my phone and I'm going to pull them up. Because of licensing and everything, I'm not going to be able to show any images of any of the teams if you're watching on YouTube, but I'll be able to talk about each of the livery launches and each of the liveries, and I'm just going to go right in order, starting with the Stake F1 team. I will start off by saying this with Stake. I'm not the biggest fan of the black and lime green. I'm not the biggest fan of that that color scheme. But I will say I think the lime green fading into black at the back of the car, I think it's really cool. I think if you're gonna do a livery that has very drastic color differences like lime green and black like this, I think this is the perfect way to do it. I actually really like it. I don't really like the color scheme all that much, but I really do like the livery way more than I liked it last year. I didn't really like it last year. I think it's going to look cool. All their pictures on Instagram are makes it look really what it would look like probably at night. I'd be interested to see what it looks like during the day, but yeah, I really like it. I'd probably rate that solid 7 out of 10. On to the next one, Williams. Williams was the next one to launch, and their car, I have to say, is probably one of my favorites so far of this season. It's dark blue at the front, and it kind of fades like ombres into light blue at the back of the car. It looks sleek. They have some detailing of white around some parts of the car, like stripes of little thin, stripes of white going down the back of it. It looks really sleek. I was really worried because last year, in the past couple of years with Williams, I love the color scheme, but they've had like a lot of exposed carbon fiber. It's like a lot of black, and it didn't really look good. But they've got dark blue at the front and then it fades to light blue at the back. I think this is fantastic. I like it a lot. It kind of reminds me away of their their 2019 livery where it was white faded to blue. But yeah, I really like it. I think this is probably one of my favorites. So that's Williams. The next one that launched was the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. And I have to say, I posted this on TikTok. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I think with all of the other teams, with the exception of like, McLaren has the bright orange, and Ferrari doing red. A lot of the other teams, like, they have their colors, but they have a lot of black on the car, which is a lighter weight paint than white. But with Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, I'm just going to call them RB because it's way easier. I really like the white. I really like the white that's involved. I don't think it's my favorite livery, but yeah, I do like the white. I do like the white a lot. It looks a lot like just a white version of the Red Bull. It actually reminds me of when Red Bull in 2021, when they raced at Turkey, they did that one-off white livery at Turkey. It reminds me a lot of that, which I like that livery a lot. So I like it. I don't say I love it, but I like it. I'm going to give this like a 6.5 out of 10. Up next was Haas, and I have to say a lot of people, after scrolling through TikTok and Instagram and everything, a lot of people really don't like it. I like it a lot. I really like the Haas. I like how it's like white with a little bit of silver. It almost looks like it's not even white. It's white. It looks, parts of it, like the side pods, it looks silver. A little bit. I really like that a lot. With the script Haas along the side, in black, I think it looks really good. That's my personal opinion. It reminds me a lot of the NASCAR team, the Stewart Haas NASCAR team. They've run a couple paint schemes that look very similar to this. I really like it. I really do like it. Yeah, I think it looks clean. I think it looks sleek. I like the detailing of the white, red, and black kind of all mixed in together. I really do like that. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I really do like it. I know a lot of people will disagree with me, and that's okay. And that is okay. Up next, we have Alpine. And at first, when I first saw this, I was like, ugh. But now that I've been like looking at it we're recording this like the day after the car launch. Now that I've been looking at it for about 24 hours, I like it. I like it. The pink at the front, the blue in the blue in the middle, and then the Alpine logo towards the back. The only thing that I wish was a little bit different, the BWT on the side, it's just flat pink with the lettering BWT. I wish there was some other like white detailing around it or black detailing around it, just to make it look like it's not just two colors. So I think that I wish was a little bit different, but I really do like it. I'm going to give this like a, I think I'm going to give this 8.5 out of 10. I think I really like it. Up next, we have Aston Martin, and it looks basically the same as last year's Aston Martin car. The livery itself looks, they've actually updated a lot to the car, like the nose and everything that's different, but in terms of like the detailing of the car, but the livery itself looks very similar to last year. There are some bits of exposed carbon fiber along it, but it's really subtle. Yeah, I mean, this is classic Aston Martin. I love this look a lot. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It reminds me kind of like Red Bull. They don't change it. They don't need to, because it's good. It's a good livery. So after we had Aston Martin, one last thing about Aston Martin. The front of the Aston Martin, the numbers on the car are a lime green, and I really like that detail on it a lot. I really do like that detail of it. I think it looks really cool. It adds a flash of color. So that's my take on Aston Martin. Up next, we have Mercedes, and it looks very, very similar to last year's Mercedes. In fact, I'm looking at it on Instagram right now, and it doesn't really look any different. So the front of the car is silver. It fades to black, and towards the back of the car, it's got that fluorescent blue or electric blue. I guess it's like a fluorescent blue kind of stripe along the side going towards the back. It's a really clean look. It's a great livery. I think it looks good I think it'll look good under lights. I think it'll look good in the daytime. I think this is a solid 9.5 out of 10 for me. It looks really good. It's a good look. I love it a lot. So that's my take on Mercedes. Next, we have Red Bull revealed their car, and you guessed it, it's the exact same. It's the exact same as it's been since 2016. The sponsors around it are a little bit different. The placement of the sponsors, the type of sponsors, like the one on the back wing is the biggest one. It is a different sponsor. But, it looks exactly the same as last year. It's a solid 9 out of 10. It's a classic livery. It's a good livery. I think it's a solid 9 out of 10. Yeah. I mean, just like with Aston Martin, why change it? It looks good. Why change it? I don't think it needs to be changed. So that is my take on Red Bull. Up next, we have my favorite team, Ferrari. Now, I like this livery. I like it a lot. I'm going to give it a 9. The only thing that's keeping me from giving it a 10 out of 10. I'm not the biggest fan with the white stripe along the back of it where the HP logo is. I think if they had just kept that solid red, or maybe if they wanted to have white in there, had like smaller white details, like last year how they had like the small white and yellow striping around the car. If they had something more like that, I think I would like it a little bit better. I'm not the biggest fan of that big stripe of white, but I do like it a lot. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. And I just have to say, while we're talking about Ferrari, I know in the past I've been a Lewis Hamilton hater. But man, he looks good in red. He sounds confident. In the past couple of years with how poor Mercedes has been, I haven't seen Lewis this confident with how things are going in a new season. He seems confident. He seems really happy. And that makes me happy. I'm really happy that he seems to be loving his time at Ferrari. He seems to be having a good time. And I think him and Charles Leclerc are going to be pretty unstoppable this season. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for Ferrari. And last but not least, we have McLaren. They are the constructors. And again, just like Red Bull and Aston Martin, basically the same as last year. I think they have a little bit more orange on the front of the car. A little bit more of that papaya on the front of the car. I can't really tell from these pictures whether the black is just exposed carbon fiber or if it's legitimately black paint, like on the side pods and the air intake. But I give this livery, I give this livery a solid 8.5 out of 10. I like it a lot. I wouldn't say I love it, but I do like it a lot. It's a good look. I love that they kept the Google detailing of the Google Chrome detailing around on the wheels. I think that's a really cool detail. It's a good clean look and everything. So I think I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10. Yeah. So that's my take with all the livery launches. With all the livery launches. Now, I personally, I am going to give my personal take on where I think all of these teams are going to, my way too early prediction before winter testing, way too early prediction on how the season is going to go and where the teams are going to finish. I'm not going to give my driver prediction just yet, but I am going to give my team prediction. So I'm going to go from 10th place up to first in terms of constructors championship finish. So in 10th place, where they finished last year, I think I'm going to have Kick Sauber. I think they're in a weird, like a limbo phase, where I know they are going to transition into being bought out by Audi in 2026. So I think they're in a weird limbo phase where they're prepping for that. It's going to be the same team like personnel and everything. They're just being bought by Audi. Audi is joining F1 and they're going to be bought by Audi. They are going to have a new team principal for that. And I'm sure that they're also going to have new driver lineups as well. So I think they're in a bit of a transition period. So I'm not expecting them to do very well this year. So that is who I have in 10th place. In 9th place, this is tricky for me. It could go either way. I am going to put I'm going to put Haas in 9th place. I'm going to put Haas in 9th place. And the reason I'm doing that is because with Haas, they have a new driver lineup this year. They have Ollie Behrman. Ollie Behrman proved himself. He did a race in Ferrari last year, I think. So I think the two of them, that team, I think as a rookie, I think he will do very well. I do expect him to do well, but I just don't think that I think that there are stronger driver lineups and the teams just ahead and stronger cars. So I'm expecting Haas to finish in 9th place. And I got to remind myself who Ollie Behrman's teammate is. I'm trying to find I believe it is Esteban Ocon. Esteban Ocon is his teammate next year. Wait, is that right? No, that's not right. Yes, it is. Yes, Esteban Ocon. Esteban Ocon is a great driver, and Ollie Behrman is starting his rookie year. So I just think 9th place is a good place for Haas for my prediction. In 8th place, I am going to put Williams. I think I'm going to put Williams in 8th place. I'm putting Williams in 8th place. They have a really strong driver lineup between Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon. I could 100% see them finishing up in 7th. I definitely could. I know James Vowles is a really, really good team principal, and his philosophy with how Williams has been progressing, I think is fantastic. He basically was saying, break everything. When he first took over, break everything. Let's figure this out. Let's build it right, build it back up the right way. And let's figure this thing out, test everything, let's leave no stone unturned. I think it is great. And they're really starting to make progress on that car. They looked really solid last year. So I'm going to put in 8th place. I'm still going to put Williams. I think they could finish 7th though, because of that driver lineup with Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon are a very, very good driver lineup. So I feel really confident in that driver lineup. So, but I'm going to put them in 8th. In 7th place, I think I am going to put Alpine. I'm going to put Alpine in 7th place again. Their driver lineup has changed. They have a rookie. Pierre Gasly is a great driver, and he's really proving himself to be a very reliable member of that team. But I don't really know much about Jack's driving, and it'll be interesting to see how he gets along with Pierre and how he settles into a Formula One car. So I'm having Alpine or Williams could flip flop. I could see Williams finishing 7th, and I could also see Alpine finishing 8th. But for right now, I'm going to put Alpine in 7th. In 6th place, I am going to put Aston Martin. I think Aston Martin. I think where they were at last season, and how I think the car will progress this year. I think they will start off slow, but they have Adrian Newey has joined on the team. And so I'm sure that he will have a big hand in some of the upgrades that are happening. Now, whether or not those upgrades will fit into the car and make the car's performance better, because we saw a couple of seasons ago, Aston Martin started off really, really strong and just dropped like a rock throughout the remainder of the season. So I don't really know. what to expect from Aston Martin this year, but I think sixth place is a good place. Fernando Alonso is still a really solid driver. Some question marks around Lance Stroll, but I think sixth place is a good spot for Aston Martin. So moving on to fifth place. I think I am going to put Mercedes in fifth place. They have been really struggling. The past couple seasons. And I think because the top four teams, and I know I'm forgetting a team, the top teams are really, really, not Mercedes, Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. I'm putting Mercedes in fourth. I'm putting Visa Cash App Racing Bulls in fifth place. They basically, it's their car is pretty much going to just be a remake of the 2023 Red Bull, which that was an incredibly fast car. So I have a feeling that they're going to be, they'll have a strong car this year. They made some progress last year throughout the season. I think adding Liam Lawson was really, really, really big for them. And Yuki Tsunoda, every single season, he gets better and better and better. So I think fifth place is really good. I could see Aston Martin or and RB's kind of swapping. I could see RB's finishing in sixth. I could see Aston Martin finishing in fifth. I'm not really sure, but I think fifth place is where I'll put Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. And I jumped the gun a little bit, but in fourth place, I think I'm going to keep Mercedes in fourth place, where they finished last year. They made a ton of progress throughout the season. Lewis Hamilton getting a win at the end of the season. I believe George Russell also, if he didn't get a win, he got a podium or two towards the end of the season. So at the end of the season, they looked really strong. Last year was just too little too late with how strong Ferrari, Red Bull, and McLaren started that season. With how strong that they started that season, I think it's I think it'll be or how strong they ended that season. I think it'll be good. It was too little too late with how strong the others finished or started this season, how slow Mercedes was at the beginning of the season. I think it'll be closer this year. I legitimately think that we could see a closer title battle between the top four teams, with Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull. Not in any particular order, but I think we could see a lot closer battle of those top four. So in third place, I'm going to put, it's tough. It could go, honestly, I will preface this by saying, I think with how those teams finished last year, I think this could go one of three ways. I could totally see Ferrari winning it. I could totally see McLaren winning it. I could totally see Red Bull winning it. There are a lot of question marks around some of these teams. I think for me, there are more question marks around Red Bull. So I'm going to put Red Bull in third. Just for me, there are a lot of question marks around Red Bull. They started off really strong, but they tanked through the rest of the season. They did not finish well. They were clearly towards the end of the season the third slowest team, finishing behind the likes of McLaren and Ferrari. So I'm going to put Red Bull in third. I know Liam Lawson is a great driver, but that Red Bull car is very, very much geared towards Max, and I don't know if he's going to be able to handle it right out of the gate. I think he'll be able to pick it up a lot better and quicker than some of Max Verstappen's other teammates that he's had, like Sergio Perez, Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly. I think he'll be able to pick it up a lot better. But there's still some question marks around Red Bull. The biggest one being how's the pace of their car going to be? They ended the season not in a good place. They were not fast at the end of the season. Fortunately, Max Verstappen had won enough of the races at the beginning that he could still win the championship, but it reminded me a lot of Braun GP in 2009. They started off extremely strong, winning a lot of races, getting a lot of poles, but towards the end of the season, they were not finishing very well. They just weren't finishing very well at all. And Jenson Button had to drive up from the back of the pack to win the championship in Brazil. So I think so their season last year reminded me a lot of that. And now they have the downfall of or the unfortunate scenario of them losing Adrian Newey. Now, I don't think that'll affect them greatly this year with Adrian Newey being gone. That'll definitely affect 2026 for sure, because Adrian Newey is this Red Bull car is still designed by Adrian Newey because they started designing it last season. So the 2026 car, however, will be completely designed by a different person. But that's 2026. But I don't think Red Bull will greatly be affected by the loss of Adrian Newey yet. But I think it could be a similar season. We could see them starting off strong, but then dropping like a rock throughout the the remainder of the season. So that's why I'm putting Red Bull in third place. In second place, now again, these top two, it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up with these top two. I am putting in second place, I'm going to put McLaren. And it's purely because I will say Lando Norris is a great driver. Oscar Piastri is a great driver. They ended that season very, very, very strong. Both Ferrari and McLaren made a huge progress throughout the season. But I don't think that Lando and Oscar as a driver pair is as strong as Charles, and especially adding 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. So I'm going to go in second place with McLaren, but it is purely based off of the strength of their driver lineup. Again, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are proven race winners. And at the time when they won those races, their car was not the fastest car. So they are very good drivers. They are very good drivers. But I think Ferrari's driver lineup will be a little bit better. And so in first place, I'm going to put Ferrari. And again, that I think that with how they ended that season with the car and all of the progress that team has made every season since Fred Vasseur took over, they have progressed so far every season. And now we're really, last year's car was Ferrari's first car fully under the Fred Vasseur regime, and they had a very strong season. They ended up finishing second in the championship last year. I think they could have won it had Red Bull not been as strong at the beginning. I think if Red Bull had started the season where they ended the season, I think Ferrari would have won it. It's just McLaren's jump coincided with Red Bull's downfall, and Ferrari kind of just stayed in the middle of that. I think Ferrari is going to be extremely consistent this year. And plus, I mean, I've already mentioned it, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, I think they are the strongest driver lineup. And it's nice to say that because I haven't said that about a Ferrari driver lineup in years. I have not said that about a Ferrari driver lineup. So I think they are the strongest driver lineup on the grid. I think that car is going to be fast this year. I'm sure they're going to make a ton of progress. And I'm sure they've made a ton of progress in the offseason. I'm sure they're going to make a ton of progress throughout the season. So that is where I have it. That is my prediction for the Constructors Championship. As always, You can add your thoughts in the comments. If you agree with my opinions on the liveries or with my order of the Constructors Championship, please feel free to comment below whether you agree or disagree. I'd love to discuss about it. That's what this platform is for. So let's chat about it. Obviously, you all are open to disagreeing with me, even if your opinions are wrong. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. These are just way too early predictions. And they're purely based off of my feelings. So you can disagree because it's just my opinion. So you can fully disagree with me if you want. Be sure to follow us on our social medias, Instagram and TikTok. And that is all for you. And we'll come at you after